Welcome to Blizzard and Bloom, the podcast where we navigate the storms and celebrate the triumphs in business and entrepreneurship. Join us as we dive into stories, insights, and strategies from top professionals to help you thrive in today's evolving landscape. And now, here is your host, Jay Rotinelli.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Blizzard and Bloom. Last episode, we were fortunate enough to have Brian Horn from Lawn and Landscape Magazine join us and offer us a little bit of input and insight, kind of where the landscape industry is at right now. So that'll be going live shortly. So today, I have the honor of having Mara Robinson here. She is a landscape designer, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, but very, very artistic and has some beautiful designs and workmanship that I've seen come to life. So kind of without further ado, Mara, welcome to the show, and glad to have you on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I apologize for a bunch of barking dogs in the background there. Those are my two office pups. There must be somebody walking by, but anyway.
Yeah. So again, great to have you on, and you're going to bring a ton of value to this. And I love the fact of the dogs, right? It's real life. That's who we are. That's what we do. And no sense of hiding things. We like being real.
Yeah.
If maybe
that's
you
the
could
real
give
deal
us
right here.
Yeah.
I'm the real deal.
So maybe you could just give us a little background of yourself and how you got into it, and we'll go from there.
Sure, I'd love to. So, my mom, I grew up in a figure skating kind of culture way. Both parents were entrepreneurs. My mom would drag me to the rink. I didn't always love to skate. So when I wasn't skating, I was drawing. And I especially loved when she had her student, Andrea, that would come in with her mom, Mrs. Giggy, who would then whisk me away to her beautiful home and gardens. And we would play there for a couple hours in the cutting gardens. She would teach me about all the different plants in bloom. And there was a swing, and we would have lunch, and it was just awesome. Little did I know that would end up being my career, or you could make a career out of it. So then fast forward to 1990, never mind about that. But anyways, when I started college, I entered as an entomologist. I thought, I like bugs. Maybe I could do something with bugs. But then I quickly realized that was not for me. And I was commuting back and forth on the weekends with a friend of mine from UMass back home. And he had these unbelievable models he was building. And I said, wow, what are these models that you're building? And he said, I don't really like this field, but you know what? You might like it. It's art, it's architecture, it's science, it's horticulture, and even sociology, and so much more. Try Joe Volpe's 291A, and if you make it through there, you're in. Went to my guidance counselor. She said, yeah, not many people make it in that major. They think it's easy, and you can try it. So I tried it, and I was hooked. And, we were 40-something people in the major. We graduated with 12. Only a handful of us are still doing it today. I absolutely love it. It's my passion. Wow. I can't think of anything else I could be doing.
That's really cool. I didn't actually realize that you go to school for entomology. So, and that's how it started. It's always interesting how, careers start and how you need to try some things and to really see what the likings are. So that's kind of interesting. That's kind of a cool segue into, because in the world of landscape, we do have to deal with the issues of bugs, right? Pests, as we can call it. And pests is a broad word, right? It's weeds, it's physical pests. It certainly all relates to it. So talk about your company and just kind of through the years, and talk to me a little bit about, I see a lot on social media, and you talk about mentorship.
Yeah.
And coaching and stuff. So, which I'm really passionate about. And I love to see those things, because in my mind, I'm like, man, that person is really trying to get better at what they're doing and who they're trying to be. Right. So can you talk to us a little bit about some of those things that you've been doing?
So I've been on a growth mindset trip since, I would say, 2018. My life kind of took a major turn. I went through a divorce. I wanted to make some pretty significant changes. I needed to make changes, and it led me to finding Tony Robbins. I don't know how it just kind of popped up. I must have been Googling like self-help, like help me, I'm struggling. Tony Robbins the algorithms aligned, and I found out about his Unleash the Power Within seminar and down in Florida. So I went actually during COVID time, 2020. I signed up, and it was the most amazing experience I've ever had. I since then have doubled my income. I've been 3 times now, and every time I go, I have another new idea. I'm building an app, and the last one, my takeaways were about understanding, people's the 6 human needs that people have for significance, certainty, even uncertainty or adventure, connection, love and connection, and growth and contribution. So once you understand what people's top 2 of those are, you can really understand what drives them, what motivates them. And so understanding that about myself, understanding more about me, has made me a better communicator and a better listener to my clients. And
Cool.
it just has a whole new approach for me. It's a lot more fun.
Yeah, I bet. That's interesting approach. And to your point, we talked about sociology before. Briefly, you mentioned that. And there's a lot to that in this, in particular in your world, right? Because
absolutely,
you're not only in the design world, you're in the people business, right? So
I'm the therapist a lot of times. It's hard.
Sure. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah.
One of the things that I really thought was kind of cool with your company is the fact that not only do you design, but you like to stay involved from a project management standpoint. Talk to us about like what maybe a little bit more in detail of what maybe separates you from others in the design world, and how you implement that.
Yeah, certainly. So I have a value add to my company, and that's that I stay involved the entire time. So I've made this connection with these clients, and I am going to take them through the process. And it's a huge value to the people I do business with, not only to my clients, but to all the contractors that I work with. So I have several contractors that I have a partnership with, and I stay actively involved depending on, that contractor's needs, level of needs, client management, project management, and we go through the process together.
That's pretty cool because it's all about relationship building,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if
Right.
you have that vision,
Mm-hmm.
then the expectations are there that someone's going to carry out that vision. But sometimes if the communication isn't there and the relationship isn't there, then those two tend to separate, right? So
Yeah,
then your
absolutely.
vision potentially isn't implemented the way the client envisioned it. So
This is true.
yeah, so kind of interesting that. I always talk about process.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for us at Piscataqua, it's about the customer experience, right? Not
Right.
so much customer service, it's customer experience and how that starts. And for us, it starts from the first phone call or the website inquiry, or how that's handled. How do prospective clients find you, and then what does those first steps look like for you working with a prospect?
They find me most of the time from referrals. So it's referrals from its previous clients. They're building a second home or third home, or it's friends of theirs, or it's another contractor that says, "Hey, I've got, these clients, so and so in the North Shore. Are you available to meet?" That's where it's mostly referral based. Very rarely do I get kind of a cold call. Every now and then. Those don't seem to be as solid lead as the referrals, of course.
Yeah.
So that initial meeting, it may be on the phone, or hopefully it's in person, so I can kind of read them and see the site, see their home, see the landscape. What are we dealing with? What are the opportunities on the site? Are we going to be working with the borrowed landscape? Is it mountainside? Is it lakeside? Is it, so just initially meeting them and understanding what their needs and goals are, and the architecture and the landscape. All the pieces are there. You just read it. You go there and you just see it, and then you hear what your clients say, and kind of just gets all like mixed up in there and simmers a little bit, and you're like, poof, I see it. It's gonna be awesome. Let's build it.
Yeah. And part of, I know what we talk about is, when you talk to the clients or prospects, like you need to understand what their vision is, right? And then you need to understand their lifestyle and how they're going to utilize the landscape and so forth. But then also, there's a balance there, right?
There
With
is.
practicality,
Hmm.
budget, and vision. So what does that look like, and how do you work through that process with potential prospects?
The bad word, budget. You said that. Ooh. Um, so what I like to do, and I make sure they understand, is I like to design the dream. That's why let's build the dream. That's my catchphrase, Mar Landscape, let's build the dream. Let's look at the dream and then see if we need to scale back the dream or phase the dream. So it doesn't limit me. I can think about the big picture, and then we can just kind of see where we need to start, or maybe it's just totally blown out of the water. Then we just kind of look at, okay, how can we meet the design in the integrity of the design? All right, so maybe it's just a simple material change. I had, bluestone in there. Well, now we're going to go with a paver instead. I mean, it's a simple material change. Maybe we wanted to do a fireplace. Let's just build the base and have it in place and ready to go for when, you can do it. And that seems to work out.
It's interesting. You came across a good point here, and I think about it all the time. Is people sometimes can be penny foolish thinking about the longer term picture, right? So when you
Hmm.
talk about the dream and the big landscape, while it might not suit their budget completely in its entirety, there are things to think about for down the road, right? And to your point, when you're thinking about, hey, I'd like to maybe do a fireplace, but it's not on the budget now, but I'd like to do it. Well, you know what? If we do it now, we're
Hmm.
here, we're going to save you.
Hmm.
Furthermore, we're not going to come across your brand new landscape that we just installed,
Absolutely.
right? And then have adverse affections to that. So those are things to be thinking about, not being
Right.
penny foolish. And I know you and I have kind of talked about that, and educating the clients on that. So
There's a method to the madness.
method to the madness. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure, for sure.
Uh-huh.
So when you get onto it, so let's say you set up an appointment, you get onto site, some of the things that you're looking for during your site analysis, and what are some of the things you're talking about and looking for?
So I'm going to ask them questions as to simply as to how you're going to use the space. How many of you are there? Do you have kids at home? Are you an empty nester? How do you envision using the space? Are you a big entertainer, or you more of a private person? Just want a place to relax. And as I mentioned, just reading, then taking that into consideration, those answers, reading the landscape and what I see, and also looking at other things. I might see some erosion issues, or we're going to need to retain this area. They want a pool. Where am I going to be fitting it in? Looking at setbacks. Are we near wetlands? Are we going to need permits?
Yeah, permits, things that people don't think about necessarily, right? When they think landscape, they're not typically thinking permits,
Right.
right? And talk
Yeah.
about a hurdle.
Oh yeah, I can be. Yeah, absolutely. But I've been through it enough now that it's fun in its own way. It's not my
Yeah,
favorite part of the process, but it certainly may be necessary in some
yeah.
situations, and we work through it.
Yeah. And that's an element I think that you bring to the table
I
that,
do.
other folks might not. Like, if they're looking for somebody, sure, somebody can
Right.
design something, but if it
Right.
doesn't meet the zoning requirements or some of
Mm,
the town restrictions, then what good is it, right? So
exactly.
when you start that, you're signed up a new client, you're working through that design process. What does the collaboration look like? Is it something you put a design together and then you just send it off and there you go and that's it type of thing? Or what does that look like? And is there collaboration involved with those folks?
Sometimes up front they may have a picture they want to show me. They're really excited about. So they may have, I'm going to say it wrong. My daughter always corrects me. Pinterest. I say Pinterest. And
Pinterest. Yeah,
yes,
sure.
Pinterest. Thank you. I need
Yeah.
her here to correct me. But they might have, like I said, just images. Maybe they've driven by some place they like and they've taken pictures. Maybe they show me some pictures from vacation, and it's inspired them to have something like that. Is that possible at their home?
So when you come across the challenges, right? Nothing's ever easy and nothing's ever, from A to Z, right?
That's why we do it.
There's always challenges, right? So
Right.
some of it, there's that sociology path. Like some of it is personality. Some of it is the husband wants something one way, the
Yep.
wife wants something another way, or the partner wants this and the other partner wants that. So, I mean, I'm just thinking about one thing, right? That happens or that I've heard happen. So how do you, kind of work through
Mhm.
some of those disturbances or challenges with folks?
It's absolutely 1000% important that both of them are heard and feel like they're heard. And
Yeah,
you incorporate, something from each.
yeah,
Um,
makes
I
sense.
have a client now that, he's a little surprised about how much she wanted and how much we're doing. But, I'm going to assure him he's going to have his hot tub, and we're going to phase it and we're going to make it work.
That's great.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's cool. And you're like, I hear about it all the time. Like, there's a decision maker ultimately, but then there's also
Huh?
the other person. And if the decision maker is feeling uneasy because the other person is, then that could be a factor. So to your point, you made a really good point there. So trying to fit in a little bit of each, from each person is probably the most helpful. So
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise,
yeah,
yeah, there may not be a project. There might be
that's right.
some knockdown, blowout, and next thing you know,
Yeah,
they're
next
not
thing you
calling you back and they're
right.
mad and
Yeah,
the
sure,
project's
sure.
done.
Yeah. Listen, I've been watching some of the posts you've done on LinkedIn and
Uh-huh.
just some really, really cool projects. And
Thank you.
I'm thinking, like, I know in all the years I've been in it, like, I could think of some really cool projects that I've worked on and some really awesome people that I've worked for and with, right? Do you have any, like an example or two of maybe a project or clients that you've worked with that's just been something that is rock steady in your mind that just will stick with you forever?
Yeah, I mean, they all kind of do, but I think the one that sticks out in my head the most is one that's fairly recent because it's a park design. It's the Lizzie Thomas Memorial Park in Lynn, and it's for the residents of Lynn. So it was for a community, and it was just the most impactful to me to see when it was all done. They had a ribbon cutting and the mayor came and the residents were out there in the park walking it and excited to there's a putting green and I brought back the old school chess tables and ping pong tables. And I mean, the design started, it was adjacent to their existing pool space, and it was all centered around this Japanese maple, and the park was just outdated. It was there wasn't a lot of space for people. It was shaded, and it was just subject to some things that it was a kind of a generally unsafe place to be,
Hmm.
so to speak. So we opened it up. There was some ledge that had to come out of there, and it set the space up for some retainage and terracing and beautiful new plantings, and all these other wonderful elements. And that putting green, especially, is super cool. And
That's
yeah, just
that's
I love it, and it's totally ADA accessible. All of it. Our friends in wheelchairs will be able to have they have a chess table, checkerboard table, and they can get around the park easily. They can even get on the putting green. It's super cool.
that's great. That's I saw some pictures. It's absolutely magnificent.
Yeah,
And
thank
the
you.
fact
Awesome.
that so many people can enjoy it.
Yeah.
And you can see, I don't really know much about the project up until now you sharing with us, but when you go onto your LinkedIn page and you see that, you see how you've integrated a lot of different opportunities for many folks, right, of
Yeah.
different capacities. So that's got to be a real good feel good thing to have been a part of. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
fulfilling. I mean, that's why we do this work,
yeah,
I think, because it's not really work. It's work, but I love it. I love what I do.
passion,
Right, exactly.
passion, right? So. Thanks for sharing that. I know we talked a little bit about the project management early on, but
Hmm.
I just kind of want to hit on that again one more time. I think there's a ton of value that having the designer be a part of
Hmm.
the project and stay in its
Hmm.
entirety is super important. While we haven't done a whole lot of work together, some of the other folks I've
Hmm.
seen both, where some have not been a part of it and then some have. And it is, while maybe some contractors might not like it, I think it's a right, and everybody has their different opinion. I think it's a great idea because
Right.
it keeps it keeps that vision, right? Um, what is that when you're working with a contractor, just kind of from a high level, do you set up a contract with the contractor once they get the work, or are you contracted through the client, or how does that work?
So I will recommend the contractor to my client who I see is best suited for the project, for the install.
Gotcha.
And then I am given a project management fee to see this project through. Now I then have a contract with that. Um,
Hmm.
and it can vary slightly. As you mentioned, some might not want me on their site, and they say, we'll basically give you a referral fee and, get off our site. It's ours now. Or, some might be more interested in having me there because I do alleviate, some of the stresses for them because they just don't have the time. They're focused on trying to get this built. They are not going to be so worried about whether Mrs. Smith, wants a different color Rosa Sharon or not. And she might be calling me at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. And I'm going to answer her because that's what I do. And it's important.
Yeah. And those are things I think about. In my mind, I think it would be short-sighted not to have somebody like yourself. If you've done the design,
Right.
again, it goes back to my comments earlier that how can you expect the outcome if you're not part of the vision, right?
Right.
And I think that's super important. So, and back to my comment earlier as well, is it's about the customer experience and not customer service, right? And what good is it if you get a project right at the outcome and it looks good and people are happy with it, but it was a miserable process through it, right? Then it's going
Mhm.
to be lackluster. And then at the end of it, people are like, I got what I want, but man, that was painful working with those
Yeah.
contractors. They didn't call me. They just made educated guesses. They didn't, bring me back into the fold to talk about that. So I think that's super important, and I think that's a really, really a cool service that you offer.
Thank
And
you.
certainly, I know on our jobs it would be super impactful to have you as part of that. So again, just kind of
Great.
wanted to just chat about that. So
Hmm.
one of the things kind of getting into is talking about technology in our
Yep.
world, right?
Right.
You and I have been around a long time doing the work and studying it. And I think of the old days installing granite steps with straps and, grade stakes and don't get your fingers. And now we live in the world of stone magnets and, and now it's even into the software side of things, right? And the design implementation. Talk to us about how that looks comparatively speaking to 10 or 15 years ago. Like, what's the difference now? I suspect before it was a lot of pencil and paper
Yeah.
but how do you work through that process and what technology are you using?
So I'm still from the days of old school hand drafting. I'm one of the last classes at UMass Amherst to graduate with those kinds of skills, hand drafting. We just started getting into AutoCAD and we were digitizing. But I always start, and that's kind of getting back to the roots of that kind of. There's nothing like hand and pen and paper to at least sketch the ideas. But now with technology, I use a 3D program in a lot of my designs because it now the client can actually see what I see. I had a client in Queechee. It was $1 million landscape installation, and I'll never forget. Well, he was just an awesome client. He trusted me so much, and we're walking around the site, and he said, "So this is what it's supposed to look like," and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
wow." Now not everybody's that trusting, right? So
Sure.
it's nice with the 3D. We can look at it all different angles. I can even zoom in. I build the model of their house, and we can zoom inside and look out the windows and say, this is what it's going to look like from your daughter's window. This is what it's going to look like from the kitchen. We can, get down at all different levels, and it's just that they now see what I see. It may be a little bit cartoonish, but I think that's okay because it just kind of makes the process a little bit lighter. And then once it's installed, I always tell them it should be even better than what you see here.
Yeah.
This is good, but it's going to be even better.
Yeah.
And it's been an unbelievable tool for me. I think some of my colleagues would kind of poo-poo it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. And you know what? We live in a world where everybody moves and thinks fast and quickly. And, now we're getting to the point that, our kids and maybe even some that are a little older are starting to be our clients, right? So they're into the technology, right? You and I are getting older and we're trying to keep up with these younger folks. And, as we talk through it, like, I think if you're not doing it, working on it, implementing it, you're going to get lost behind because somebody else is going to be. So it leads me to the next question. Like, where do you see like AI more happening in our industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
So already so I'm a little behind with some of it, but I just started using, I'll throw it out there, Company Cam, which is a really cool tool and offers AI as a more of an organizational type thing, right? It helps you with annotation with your pictures or writing reports. I think that's awesome. And I love that. I love using AI as an organizational tool. As far as design is concerned, I've seen some things that are AI generated, and I think that they lack that human eye. And to some clients, it may work for them, but I think the clients I'm working for and with, that would not fly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I just think that human experience needs to be felt in the design.
Agreed. And I've been getting a lot of, as you can imagine, and I'm sure you do as well, but so many of these different apps, right? And these developers reaching out and saying, hey, or they'll send you this slideshow, and it's like, look at how easy. You take your phone, you snap a picture, the design's done, you can charge $3,000. Like, whoa, time out. Like, you totally took the human element out of it. You don't know if they have kids, how many dogs they have, do they want a pool? What time they go to work, like you have none of that knowledge. So I think about things like that in the AI, and maybe it's going to blow our minds in 10 years. And, you're going to literally be able to go onto a site and it's going to extract out of your head what your vision is. I mean, none of us know that, right? So, but I do think, to your point exactly, it takes the human element out. And I always say to our team, we are not only in the landscape business, we are in the people business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And if you don't understand people,
absolutely,
then you're not going to understand their landscapes. Make sense?
Yeah, this is true. I didn't know that it was going to be so much of a people business, but you know what? I don't think there's any profession out there that doesn't have that you're not in the human.
Yeah. Yeah, particularly nowadays.
Right?
Yeah.
But I just embrace it.
Yeah. And I think you have to be successful, and it's certainly proven for you.
Thank you.
Your success. So, well, so the project has kind of taken place, and we start talking about, what it looks like after. Do you maintain relationships with clients and talk to them about kind of, what's 1 year maintenance look like in 3 years, and then, building those relationships? Is there more things down the road that might want to happen? What do those conversations look like with clients?
Sometimes they will have me back for another element. They want to add a sports court, or they want to have that fireplace built, or additional planting. But as far as maintenance, and this is, you could say, well, you're leaving money on the table here, but I mean, I don't get involved with the maintenance. I just don't, and I really wish that I had a company that I could just, give that all to and recommend. I've had a couple I've referred in the past, and it was kind of a nightmare. And now I'm like kind of hesitant so
Yeah,
I don't have a,
sure. And that's
unfortunately.
tough, right? Because
It is tough.
you have this project, you implement it. All these
Yeah.
people want, in contractors, and I can speak for the entire world of landscape contractors. Everybody wants to do the work, but then after, when it comes to knowing
Nobody.
what needs to be pruned at certain times of the year, you don't just go in and prune things at once. The deadheading, what that cycle looks like through perennials throughout the course of the season, all of those
Right.
things, and a lot of people move so quickly they don't want to be bothered with it, which is unfortunate because I think when you put the landscape in, that design intent really doesn't come to fruition until probably year 2 or 3 when things are
Exactly.
really flourishing,
Yeah,
right? So if they're
exactly.
not taken care of, then it kind of prohibits what the ultimate goal was.
That's just a whole nother business.
Yeah.
And there's only so much time I
You got your
have.
hands full.
I do.
Hey, I got a couple fun little quick questions here for you. What's your favorite plant that you would to design with? We all kind of have our favorites, and I'm curious what yours might be.
What's my favorite plant? Now, this is a really hard question because, I mean, every site is different. And, is it shade? Is it sun? Is it wet? Is it drought? But one that I think you'd see commonly in all my landscapes would have to be Nepeta.
Nepeta, love it, love it.
Yeah,
That's a
I
great plant.
love it because you get several flushes of flowers and growth, and it's just easy to take care of. It's never gonna not look good, It's just, and I love the color, and most people like purple.
Yeah,
And it's just I love it. I love
that's
Nepeta.
great. Yeah. And we all have our favorites, right? We all have our
Yeah, I mean, I
favorites.
could also say I love Cryptomeria because that's like, people don't use that very often. I mean, there's all different. Red twig dogwood is gorgeous. I love it in the
Yeah.
winter.
That's my
But
favorite, by the way. I'll
red twig
share with you.
dogwood, that is a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But
What what would you say is I got two more quick questions for you. What's probably the most rewarding part of your work? Is it the landscape coming to fruition? Is it the relationships you build with clients? Is it both? What from your perspective, what's the most rewarding to you?
I think it's the phone calls or emails or notes that I get at the end, or just randomly throughout the year. The project's long finished, and they send me a picture of them out there enjoying
That's cool.
enjoying the yard,
That's cool.
and
That captivates it all.
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool. If you could give some advice to someone considering a landscape and redesign, let's say, for their home business, what's some of the advice you could give to them before they even start the process?
Have a plan. You got to have a design in
Have a
place.
plan. Yeah,
Absolutely. Well,
yeah,
what are we building? What are we doing? What are we thinking about? Are we doing veggie gardens? Are we,
yeah, yeah. Super important. Super
yeah,
important to have a plan,
absolutely.
right? I know there's something cliche about doing something without a plan is setting yourself up for failure type of thing,
Hmm.
right? And I think how true that is. So,
Yeah, you got to
well,
think
cool.
through every space.
I appreciate your time today. Very cool. I think some of the things I got out of it are, building those relationships with
Hmm.
people, having that open communication, having a plan in place,
Yep.
and being a part of it from A to Z, really makes a difference. And I think keeping up with technology and again, you
Yep.
and I,
Absolutely.
probably similar in age, we share that it's like, man, these younger folks keep giving
Yeah.
us this technology, and here
Right.
we are trying to embrace it, right? Your kids, my kids, and you try to stay on top of it. And again, we don't want to get lost in it, but it is certainly oftentimes helpful tools for us in our business and our daily lives. So, we look to embrace that. So I want to just take a minute to just try to understand how, if people want to get a hold of you, you bring a ton of value. I'm going to say for myself, watching what you've done in the North Shore of Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, has been pretty spectacular.
Thank you.
Even though you're based in Newburyport, which is a wonderful community, how can people go ahead and get a hold of you should they be interested?
maralandscape@gmail.com.
maralandscape@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Great. And you can catch you on LinkedIn, I'm sure.
On LinkedIn. I have
Yeah.
a website. I need to upload some more pictures. That's a
Okay.
weak link of mine. I have a whole new, wonderful, revamped website, but I'm not using it to its potential, sadly.
Yeah.
Just,
Well, you'll get there. I know it's hard, and
I add
when you
some
got a
more
lot
pictures.
of balls in the air, right? Trying to juggle them, and business is good. That's the priority, right?
And if I could find a mini me out there, I need help.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
Jay.
this. I'm probably going to reach back out to you because, again, as I share with you, and I sincerely mean, I think you bring a ton of value to the industry and to the listeners here. Undoubtedly, I'm sure I'll get some questions once the episode airs, but appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for everybody else, we're going to, Greg Thistle, Senior Vice President, Northeast Regional Manager of Site One, is going to be joining us on the next episode, just talking about some of the trends they're seeing with contractors. So thank you, everybody. And thanks for listening today. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to Blizzard and Bloom with Jay Rotinelli. We hope you feel inspired and empowered. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Join us next week for more insights and stories to help you bloom in your business journey.